we wanted to kind of give Travis Etienne his spotlight as well.
Yeah.
I looked into a lot of analysis on him, and I feel like I had three things that you really need to know about Travis's odds to win the Heisman. Okay, so the first thing is that if you look at it, and I feel like you guys are gonna beat me up because it's not all positive, but I wanted to be a realist here. Okay,
Yep.
Travis is not a quarterback, so that's obstacle number one.
Yeah.
Only 2 running backs have won the Heisman in the last 10 years. Only 4 in the last 20 years. So that's already a problem, right? Derrick Henry won it and had over 2,200 yards rushing. Mark Ingram won it and had only 1,600, but it was like Alabama's resurgence, so they were in love with Alabama at the time. Even though he didn't have flashy numbers, he was the best player on Alabama, and so they gave it to him. And it was believe it or not, Mark Ingram was their first ever Heisman Trophy winner. So just because you're a historic team doesn't mean that you can't get a Heisman Trophy winner in the modern age. And so that gives Clemson some hope for sure. But that's the first thing I thought is he's not a quarterback. Second thing I thought is he has a ton of yards. He's 8.1 yards per carry last year. But the problem with 8.1 yards per carry is that he also is going to be on the bench if they're up by 3 or 4 touchdowns. And we talked about this same thing with Trevor Lawrence. It's the same issue. Dabo Swinney is about the team first, not the player. He doesn't necessarily care about an individual player trophy as much as he does the team trophies. I think he cares about a Heisman Trophy. I mean, who wouldn't if you're a football fan? I know Dabo Swinney is a football fan for sure. But that was my thought is I think Travis can get the yards.
Yeah.
And he can get the touchdowns. But I don't see him getting played enough. He's going to have to – he can't leave a game with 40 yards rushing like he did last year. He left like 5 games last year with 40, 50 yards rushing. He can't do that. If he would have stayed with 100, then that would have been the case too. But then my last thing I thought was we talked about quarterbacks. Well, if you look at the top 10 on Heisman odds right now, there are 3 running backs and 7 quarterbacks. And the biggest problem with those 7 quarterbacks is the one that's up there at the top of the list wears the same jersey. And so you look at Derrick Henry when he had 2,200 yards rushing, he only had Calvin Ridley to worry about and Jake Coker as a quarterback.
Yeah.
You got Trevor Lawrence and 5 studs at wide receiver.
Yeah.
It's going to be really hard. It's not the Derrick Henry game. It's not the Travis Etienne team. It's going to be very hard for Travis to win that Heisman Trophy with the situation that he's in right now. Now, do I think if he goes on some other team and he's the main guy, kind of like what Tavian Feaster wants to be, could he have a shot at it? Yeah, he could, but you still have to be on an elite team too to kind of get that nod. But those are my 3 thoughts as I look through everything.
Can Travis Etienne win the Heisman? Sure, absolutely he can. He's one of the best running backs in the country, along with Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin. You have DeAndre Swift from Georgia. You have A.J. Dillon from Boston College. A lot of good running backs, but Travis Etienne is definitely one of the top and obviously number 1 in our hearts. But I think you're 100% right. Dabo Swinney, he loves to play players. Lynn J. Dixon is going to see a lot of time this year. This is an explosive back, very talented back, and he's going to see a lot of carries. Going to take a lot of opportunities away from Travis as well. And, of course, Travis, may not be in the games late in the games. You'll see a lot of heck, you might even see, Rencher come in. You might see Malusi, maybe even Dukes get in the game. He's going to play a lot of people. Like you said, it's team over individual. I'm okay with that. I'd like to get a Heisman. That's one thing South Carolina can say that we don't have that they do, and that just grates on my nerves. So it would be great for Travis Etienne to finally break that. But another obstacle, like you said, is his teammates. I mean, T. Higgins and Justin Ross, the 2 stud of studs at wide receiver. I mean, they're going to take carries away from them. Who wouldn't want to throw to those guys? And, of course, Trevor Lawrence is going to be slinging it to those guys. They're going to get their yards. They're going to get their touchdowns. And every yard and touchdown they get is a yard and touchdown that Travis Etienne doesn't get. Also, my last thing that I had for him was the schedule, okay? The schedule is not a very tough schedule for Clemson this year. It lends itself to a lot of blowouts, in which case, like we mentioned before, he's not going to be on the field at the end of the games, most likely, assuming Clemson is playing up to their potential. I mean, I really think they have the potential to score, high 40s a game. And they could do more than that if they wouldn't take everybody out. I mean, the offense should be incredible this year. So can Travis Etienne win the Heisman? Yes, of course he can. It's not an impossible feat, but I'm going to go with either a quarterback or a running back who has more of a sole running back, role on their team. Somebody who's going to be a more focused role at running back. I just don't know that's going to be in the cards for Travis this year, but I'm pulling for him, of course.